Video overview of this knife. This knife is the A.G. Russell Acies2. It's the smaller of the two Acies knives from A.G. Russell. It's a knife that is produced by A.G. Russell, but made by Kershaw, and it runs the always fantastic ZDP 189. It looks like, given that this is a USA-made knife, that they're importing the ZDP 189 from Japan. The knife has some really incredible performance ratios. As you can see, it looks like the blade is bigger than the handle, but it's not. It just, they squeeze a lot of blade height and a lot of blade length into this handle. And A.G. Russell does a really good job putting his pivots way out here. The knife is incredibly smooth, just incredibly smooth. You can coin flip this all day long. The one thing that I would say is that these thumb studs are just absolute 100% garbage. I know that some people like them. I know that people think that they're really good. But here's the thing. They're really rough. On my version, I had to take a metal file, and sort of round them out, and it still screwed up my thumb for like a week. And they require you to use them in a certain way. You know, like more use-neutral thumb studs, and thumb studs that allow lots of different use, like this one. This is just like a classic. It's a little larger, but it's the thumb stud on the James Brand Chapter knife. You can, let me see if I can reach around there. You go. So that's the coin flip. You just put your finger right in there, or you can slow roll it if you want. This one, because it's an angle, doesn't do so well with the slow rolling. So what happens is, as your finger comes out here, let's see, you can catch the meat of your thumb on this sharp ridge here, and it just slices up your finger. That's what happened. And you can, of course, get it started, but one of the things that I noticed was this thumb stud originally debuted on the Blur, and the Blur was an assisted open knife. And so what happens on an assisted open knife is once you get it to about there, the assist takes over. But this is not an assisted open knife. It's a very smooth knife, but it's not an assisted open knife. And as a result, you are in contact with the thumb stud longer than you would be in a assisted open knife. The knife came to me used, but it was in immaculate condition. In fact, it was better than new. It had this mirror edge on it, and it's a really unbelievable cutter. They get this nice and thin. A.G. Russell really knows how to do his knives. This has a couple of other features. It has a deep carry pocket clip. It has a hinderer lock stop. And the deep carry pocket clip is quite a controversial piece, because unlike the rest of this knife, it's not satin finish or matte finish like the blade and the handle. It's actually high polish, and it sticks out like a sore thumb. It works great, the tension's great, and it does carry deep in the pocket, but it is ugly, and it is an eyesore. I mean, it's not just that it's shiny and big, it's also that it's ugly looking. It adds so much to the thickness of this knife that you don't really have to have. I mean, if you look at this knife versus like the Chapter knife, I mean, the Chapter knife's profile is so much more elegant, so much nicer. And it's a shame, you know, there are two things on this knife that are really easy to fix, the thumb stud and the pocket clip. All you'd have to do is bead blast it, or if they took the pocket clip from, hold on, this is the pocket clip from the Scorpion, and you'd think that they'd be interchangeable, but they're not. The screw heads are slightly bigger on this knife than they are on the Scorpion, so it wouldn't go through. If you had this pocket clip, which is considerably smaller, and be blasted on this knife, it would be a much nicer combination. I'd also like to see them change out the thumb studs to some more high affordance thumb studs. That is, thumb studs that afford multiple methods of opening. It's a shame because the blade is beautiful, beautifully ground. And the steel is amazing. The lockup is just dead solid. The centering is perfect. The pivot is wonderful. There are just these two problems, that one and that one, that keep this knife from being an all-time great. I'm going to do a review of this knife, and then I'm going to do a sort of odd version of a shootout between this knife and a bunch of other knives as Sebenza alternatives. So check the site for the review, and then look for the shootout to come.